So we're going to look at the test statistics that we use in these two cases. Here's the test statistic for testing the population proportion. It's a z calculation. It's p hat minus p, and that's the mean. And down here is the standard deviation. And quite frequently, since we're testing whether a value of p is reasonable or not, we'll write a little p0 here. So P0 represents the null hypothesis proportion value. So sometimes maybe you're trying to see if a ballot initiative is going to pass. You might be looking for evidence the population proportion is bigger than 1/2. So we might just put 1/2 in there and do some work. Okay, and then we said values that differing from 0 by more than about 2, because this measures standard deviations, give evidence against the proposed p, because as the p hat is pretty far away from the proposed p, I could say p naught if you want, like that. It's more than 2 standard deviations, so that's not where you would expect it to be. If you use the right number here, you don't expect to get numbers bigger than something like 2 or smaller than -2 very often. So if you do, you say something might be up, and that's evidence against the value that you stuck in here. Okay. The larger the difference, so differing from 0 by more than 2, the stronger the evidence. And then the alternative hypothesis states the type of difference we care about. So we only might care about positive differences or negative differences or both. And that's what the alternative hypothesis tells you. I'm looking for an increase, did I find one? I'm looking for a decrease, did I find it? I'm just looking for a change, did I find it? So that's the thinking. Looking for values bigger than or smaller than around 2. The bigger the number, the stronger the evidence. And we really only care about certain kinds of changes. We're wondering whether aspirin reduces fever. We're certainly not expecting it to increase fever. So if we see fever go up, it's even more evidence that the drug you're using, the aspirin you're using, doesn't do anything because it allowed the fever to rise. We want to make it go down. And here's a test statistic for the population mean. Same story here. Here, the thing you care about is this mean. So I might call it mu naught. Mu naught is the null hypothesis a mean that I can't write. That's better. The assumed value of the population mean, the null hypothesis mean. Values of this t statistic differing from 0 by more than about 2. T is pretty close to z. It just differs in technical details. I still have that 2 as the approximate number. It depends on the degrees of freedom, what the exact number is, but around 2 it seems pretty good. Well, more than about 2 give evidence against proposed mu, or we might call it mu naught, like that. The larger the difference, the stronger the evidence. Same story. So we've got the same kind of thing. Over here we can use z tables to measure strength of evidence. Over here we have to use t tables, which are slightly different. But overall, the same process. The alternative hypothesis states the type of difference we care about. Larger the difference, stronger the evidence, etc. So that's the second step in hypothesis testing. The first step is declaring the null and alternative so you know what you're looking for, and then the second step is computing a test statistic depending on your situation. Then the third step would be then drawing conclusions, and we'll see how the hypothesis testing framework has more refinement to it than just the using the confidence interval. There's a way to analyze strength of evidence, and where in the confidence interval setting, you're either in the interval or not. And well, he sees something called the p-value, which gives you strength of evidence, which is sort of universal across all statistical procedures. So once you understand what p-value kind of stands for, then you can look at all kinds of testing and all kinds of statistics, not just these two, and have some idea what the experimenter was doing and how strong the evidence was. So we'll be doing that in a bit. Right now, I'm going to erase this board.